Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, Looking Back With, sponsored by DJ Private Hire, Gateway Accountancy Services Limited, Elite Goalkeeper Academy, and Motive 8. And tonight, join us for our first Looking Back With for 2024 is Les Langley. Les, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. No, we haven't had one for a while, and they absolutely love watching these. So I hope a lot of people tune in, going to enjoy us. So getting on to your time before we get to South Shields in 1995, did you play at a certain level? Was it kind of youth football? I mean, how was you all getting into football at that time for yourself?
Yeah, obviously I started with school football, and when I was 11, I got picked to play for Sunderland schoolboys, or Sunderland boys, whatever it was called at the time. And I did have a couple of clubs looking at me at the time. Nothing really materialised from 11 to 16, and when I was 17 I got asked to go to Reading. Two of us who were playing for Ripe under 18s at the time, and went to Reading, and as has what happened in a lot of my career, I hurt my knee a little bit in training, and got sent home because I was about to turn 18. And obviously there wasn't the money then, and they were deciding whether they would have to give me a pro contract or not. I was sent home, and nothing ever materialised from it. Only ended up playing the one game for the reserves, and that was at Swindon Town on a Tuesday night. I'd got there on the Monday, one training session, and then was told, right, you're playing for the reserves the following day at Swindon Town. And remember sitting in the dugout, because the other lad who was with us, I think it was a lad called Stewie Cook, I think. He was going to play the first half, I was playing the second half, so I was in the dugout at first. And I remember looking to my left and seeing Lou Macari, the ex-Man United player, manager of Swindon Town at the time. And that was sort of the smack of reality of where I was and what I was up to. And never ever forget the experience. Played 45 minutes and it felt like about 2 minutes. It just went over in a flash. And then from then I spent a lot of my time, and probably the time I enjoyed the most of my football was playing just for a team called Belford House, who were playing in the equivalent of the Weeside League at the time. And loved my time there. Loved all the lads. There was a manager there called Tommy Dobbin. Great lads. And it was one of them. Just really enjoyed my time. And then I moved from Sunderland. And a friend of mine who had been running the Ripe under 18s got me involved at South Shields. And that was it. Me playing in Northern League from then on, really.
Yeah, you say joined the South Shields at that time. I mean, the club was just coming up from the Weeside League on the up and looking to progress, but things just happened so quick, didn't that season? How well it went.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I'd really enjoyed playing my time at Belford, and then all of a sudden, I've played for South Shields. The daft thing about it is, I remember thinking, bloody hell, they've got referees. They've got the linesmen. And I remember coming off, and a couple of lads asked for my autograph, and I was like, "Wow, this is a different level." But that was, even in the early days. Obviously, there wasn't anywhere near the fans that there was now. There's only a handful there, but they were absolutely obsessed with the football club, and I think you could see it was going to us.
Oh, it was really good, wasn't it? Like you say, who was in charge then, and who was the players, the characters that were kind of the standout ones straight away in the change rooms? Your time at South Shields.
Do you know what? I wasn't there a great deal, and the only thing I can really remember from then, other than feeling completely out of place, because I walked into a changing room where I'd say 99% of the lads had been playing in the Northern League for a few years. So I did feel a little bit out. The manager at the time was a guy called Peter Feenan, and he had an assistant called Lee Collins who played in the Northern League for a good few years.
Oh, yeah.
And all I remember was thinking to myself, this is a massive step up in management. I'd loved my football in the past, but it was all, the management was encouragement, and that was about it. Where on Peter Feenan, it was structured. The training sessions weren't just a case of 2-touch score, next goal's the winner, which we've all done in the past. It was all proper training, and you could tell he knew what he was talking about. Match days, everything, with practice, set pieces, and it was, to me, it was my first taste of what I would class as proper football, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you see that 95-96 season, Morton win the league on by 7 points, but just behind that, the teams such as yourself and second on 79, Easton 76, Shotton 73. Must have been some right battles that season in that division.
There was, unfortunately for me, I was very much just fringe player at the time. Now, whether that was because I'd just moved up into that league, I don't know. Because the one thing I would say about myself as a player, I could go from being the best player on the pitch to looking as though I'd never played the game. And I think that's why I never progressed any further than I did. Because at times I could look as though I'd never played the game and I could never understand it. But at times, again, I could be the best player on the pitch by a million miles.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? No, I was a bit like you say yourself there, similar. Some days you could be like the best player on the pitch, and then you think all of a sudden you kind of drop the ball. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Sometimes what goes through your head, I think, when you're on the football pitch. And the moves to Crook in 1997, I mean, you spend 6 years there, which I think you look at the Northern League now, I don't think many players spend even 2 or 3 seasons, moving season by season. But I think, did you just enjoy your time, just settle there and just find the love for the club?
Yeah, well, at that point, I was living in Darlington.
Right.
I was married to Alison, who unfortunately is no longer with us now. And her grandfather used to be the chairman of Crook years before that. And he'd sat me down and showed me all the his tickets from when Crook had been at Wembley in the 60s. And then all of a sudden, there was Kevin Smith and Paul Cross, ex-Darlington players. Actually, tell a lie. I went there just before. It was Paul Watson who was manager. He was ex-Newcastle player.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think he does work with the ex-players now.
Yeah, he's cracking lad, Paul. Yeah,
Scotch lad. Yeah, and so I got the chance to play for Crook, and I'm going to push my neck out here and say I think every Northern League team I played for, I scored on my debut.
Right.
It was 2. I know it was 2 for South Shields. It was my very first touch for Crook that I scored. That was in a cup final against Wellington. I don't know how I was, and it was just an Ernest Memorial Trophy. Mm-hmm. So I was actually allowed to make my debut in the final. Nice. Came up, scored. I think it was something like the 48th minute or something. First touch. And then I know I scored for Sheldon for my first game with them as well. But yeah, so ended up at Crook, and just obviously with the family connections, living by as well. And then a mate of mine took over, Kevin Smith, who was ex-Darlington. We were good pals. And then there was a few other friends joined us, and it was we used to travel with, and I just really enjoyed my time there. Got on really well with everybody. Loved it, apart from in the winter when there was always a bit of snow travelling up the tower. The road.
But like you say, that first season as well, I mean, what a league. I mean, you look back at the teams that's playing the Northern League, and that's kind of not there now. Obviously, Whitby in that division winning the title, but like you say, some strong sides in there, Billingham, Bedlington, Durham City, Morpeth as well. But I think it was finishing 5th that season as well, really strong, but some cracking sides and some great players at that time, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know what year, actually I do, because I've pulled a cutting out. 99, we played against Bedlington. Now, this was when Bedlington had that amazing run in the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And they were beating league clubs at home. I'm sure they got something like the 3rd round or something stupid. They got really far in it anyway for a non-league club. And we played Bedlington at home. They'd won the league, God knows how many times, I think. And they had James Milner. What's he called? Was it Milner?
John Milner.
John Milner, that's it, yeah, Jim Milner. And it was prolific. And I remember a lad called Gibb, who was the only lad who I was a bit frightened about tackling. He was an absolute player. And I scored one of my best ever goals. And Alan Shoulder was the manager at the time. And there's managers who they fancy you as a player, and there's some that don't. He did not fancy me as a player at all. I was very much in and out. But again, that could go back to what I said at the beginning. I was very much up and down as a player. And I scored one from about 30 yards, top corner. And we were winning 1-0 against Bedlington, which was unheard of because they were beating everybody and they were beating them comfortably. Anyway, Milner ended up getting 2 goals within the space of about 10 minutes. And I come off the pitch and Alan Shoulder had a go at me because apparently I'd upset them by scoring that goal. We'd have got away with the draw if I had one in the top corner. But it was they were a class side. They were head and shoulders above anybody else at the time.
Fantastic they were. I mean, that time at Crook, between 98 to 2000, some good mid-table finishes. I mean, surviving comfortably as well. I mean, was a lot of change in management at that time, or was it the same kind of manager that was sticking around, the same squad, or was there lots of ins and outs at that time?
I always remember loads of managers when I was there. There was I remember Paul Watson, there was Kevin Scott and Paul Cross. There was a lad called Dolphin who was manager. Alan Shoulder, and there'll have been more that I can't even remember. And each time in between, quite often I used to get asked if I would just hold the reins for a while, which I didn't particularly like because I wanted to play. But yeah, there was loads of ins and outs. I don't think we got many seasons where we had, say, 2 seasons off the bounce with the same manager.
It's correct, isn't it? And Ian just asking there, even Ian, thank you very much for watching. Question for Les, have you ever met Stephen Holbrook, played for Darlington in the 70s, his stepdad, around that time?
Right, obviously I know Holbrook, but I don't, did he say that play against his son?
So yeah, he says, have you ever met Stephen Holbrook, played for Darlington in the early 70s?
Yes. Yeah, I think he's one of Smudge's good mates. Kevin Smith. Yeah.
That's where I come from. And you obviously were at the time at Crook as well, and you've been there a few years, and you must be one of the obviously bigger characters in there, players coming out, but you're staying there. I mean, I know we've had loads of people on and said the change rooms back then was so much better compared to they are now. I mean, what was it like being in those change rooms in the Northern League at them times?
It was great, but if I was to look back now, it was so unprofessional when you think of what it is now. And I go back to when I was doing the football show as well. I know we spoke off before we started this about the football show, and that was the biggest thing I noticed when I started going back around the clubs. I mean, our dressing room used to be an absolute hole. The showers were rotten, the toilets were rotten. To be fair, that was the majority of the grounds. And when I started doing the show, we were turning up and we were finding all the kit there, training kit. And I'm thinking, we used to look like raggy arse rovers. Everybody was in their kit. And then, now all these clubs have now got their own training kit. They've got washing machines there, getting all the washing done for them. We turned up at Morpeth Town, and they were about to go on a mid-winter break it was somewhere like Dubai or somewhere. Everyone was playing for it, and I'm thinking I played at the wrong time. Yeah, the banter might have been good, but we were sitting on getting spelt up our backside and freezing showers and stuff like that. It's absolutely different ball game now.
And that 2000 season as well, relegation, that must have been hard with the time that you've spent at Crook to get relegated out of the division as well at that time.
Yeah, funny enough, I was looking through some of the programmes, and I've still got quite a few of these. I mean, even these are
oh, brilliant.
They're all black and white and rotten. And I was looking through some of them, and again, I didn't play much that year, that season. But yeah, it's not nice, you know. You have a different approach to your games when you're losing week in, week out. You know, you've got lads all of a sudden pulling sickies when you're away at Penrith, whereas when you're at the top of the league, everybody's wanting to be there. And yeah, so not great. And when you're playing in Northern League and the crowd's small, you're hearing the stick that you're getting as well when you're getting beat every week. You know, and they're within the rights to shout what they want, to paying the money, but it wasn't nice.
Yeah, I bet. And then you just mentioned there as well, I think Airball Smudge all over in Thailand at the moment, enjoying themselves over there as well. You missed that trip, you get yourself over. And moved to Shildon, led the promotion to Division 1 as well. And did you enjoy your time at Shildon? Who was in charge and who was the players there at the time?
So there was Ray Gowan was my part of the time I was there, and Peter Feenan ended up being there as well for a short time. Now again, they were Ray was very much a bulling you up and giving you enthusiasm, and where again I've already mentioned Peter was very technical and really good manager. And when we went to Shildon, I don't wish to sound like a mercenary, but there was a chairman that took over. He used to turn up in his Bentley, clearly had a load of money, offering a lot of money, offering us a stay at his villa somewhere if we won the league or got promoted, putting goal bonuses in, and I think we had John Outhwaite at the time up front. Now there's a character for you, and he got put in a goal bonus, and he scored for fun that season. He must have made a fortune. Yeah, he was definitely one of the big characters, and that was a great season. And Lee Collins ended up being there with Peter again. There's a few I think there was a couple of the West Auckland lads ended up there as well. But yeah, there was some really good players there, and we won. Well, we got promotion that year anyway.
Yeah, cracking season, wasn't it? And then back to finishing your playing days at Crook in 2007, obviously age 40 by then. I mean, we always ask people when they come on from when you started playing the Northern League to when you finished playing the Northern League. Did you see things change at that point with the younger players coming through at that stage?
Basically, going back to what I'd said earlier, it was becoming that little bit more professional. I mean, if it was Steve Howie who was...
Oh, yes, yeah.
Crook. And so, I mean, I'm 57 now, so it was 17 years ago. And I definitely had another year in me, but he wanted me to be his assistant. As soon as he got there, he pretty much put a stop to me playing there and then. I mean, we're still good mates to this day. But yeah, he pretty much stopped me playing. And then I was responsible for him leaving as well. Because I'd been, this is my second stint, and I think I had about 9 years by this point. So I was very close with the chairman. I'd been caretaker manager, I'd been a player, and I'd been permanent manager for a short while. And the chairman rang me one day to say, I've got a keeper I think we can get. So I rang Steve and told him, and he absolutely hit the roof. And he said, if there's any interference, that's it, I'm done. Well, you can tell him I'm done.
Oh.
And I'm like, he stuck to what he said, and he went, that's it, I'm gone.
Oh, no way.
So I got the blame for that.
It's crazy, isn't it? And a few people obviously asked us to ask over the time the modelling starting and things on TV and adverts and stuff. And like you said, they say a good looking lad. What was it like playing at that time? Was there kind of a few more tackles coming in because of it? What was it like on the pitch?
No, there wasn't, to be honest. I mean, there was the daft thing about it is I did actually lose one or two jobs because I ended up with a fat lip or a black eye or something. Funny enough, going back to Steve as well, he took me to this boxing gym in Middlesbrough. It was a proper old style boxing gym above a pub in Middlesbrough.
Right.
Paul Kitson still goes there. I still trains with the same fella anyway. And Steve used to train there with a couple of others. And so he took us along. And I said, listen, I'm just going to have to train. I said, I ain't getting in the ring with anybody because I've been asked to go on an 11-day cruise around the Mediterranean doing a shoot for Fred Olsen Cruise Line. So I said, I cannot be getting in the ring or doing anything like that. He went, yeah, no bother. So anyway, we got there. And it was, I think Brian Graham was the boxing coach there who won the gym. And he'd seen me on the bag and he'd give me a little bit go on the pads. And he said, come on, get in the ring. And I felt an absolute idiot saying, listen, no, I can't. You can't punch me in the face because I'm doing it. And he's going to think I'm right on, so yeah. So he said, no, it's fine. He says, come in. He says, I won't hit you. I just want to see what you've got about you. And I always fancied myself as a bit of a boxer anyway. So I've got in. And sure enough, he's just backing off and I'm throwing combinations at him and I'm doing all right. And then he shot this right hand right on the end of me conch and nearly sent it flying. Oh, come on. Anyway, we got out of there and I said to Steve, I says, that was out of order, that, by the way. I said, how's me nose? And it was red. Fortunately, it died down by the time the shoot came around. But if we broke my nose, I'd have lost a fortune and I'd have lost the trip. Yeah. But no, nothing really happened other than, there was the odd scrape I had, which lost me a little bit of work every now and then.
We've got to ask you, we've been chatting before the show as well. Obviously, one of my favourite shows was the North East football show as well. Fantastic. I mean, how did it all come around and what was it like being involved in that as well?
Well, funny enough, I was on set with, so Anthony Rutherford was the other to do the show with. It was his idea, really. We were sat on set. We were supposed to be doing some filming for, I can't even remember what it was. I think it was just a short film that somebody asked us if we would do. And we were sat around waiting and we got talking about North East football and he just says, there's no programmes on the telly now. He says, there used to be one on a Saturday night. He says, but there's never anything been about non-league football and it's getting bigger and bigger. We should do our own. And when it was almost like chat like lads have, only there was no alcohol involved, where you talk about doing this and it never happens. But he was quite keen. I liked the idea. And then we found somebody who had a camera. It's what I think it was, he knew somebody in Bedlington. And we literally lined our first, we went Ashington. And talk about being right place, right time. Ashington at the time had the ex-cricketer, England cricketer.
Harmison, yeah.
Harmison, yeah. Mm-hmm. So Harmison was there. So he'd already agreed to do an interview. Then there was a show on with... my memory's terrible. What's the other England cricketer called? He ended up travelling around the country in a fish and chip van.
Oh, Flintoff. Yeah.
Flintoff only turned up.
No.
He was there. And he saw us doing the penalty challenge that me and Anth used to do. So he wanted to join in that. I'd already lined Steve Howie up for an interview. So all of a sudden, our very first show, we were basing around non-league football, had ex-England cricketers in it, as well as the manager of Ashington. Yeah. we had Steve Howie, who kindly let us go to his house to do an interview. Obviously, lovely house, done a great interview. So for sure had those in, and it was just a kickstart away. I mean, we looked back, and it was terrible. You know, we learned so much from that first show. You know, we weren't looking at the camera half the time. We were dropping the mic when it should have been up here, and so on and so on. But the guests that we got, it just opened doors for more, because then all of a sudden we could say to somebody, "Oh, do you mind doing an interview? We've already had these people." Yeah. And that's I lent on Steve on numerous occasions, and he got us quite a few interviews with Alan Shearer and stuff like that. And that led us to getting into the North East Sports Writers Awards a couple of years off the bounce as well. You know, so I think there was the Northern Echo, the Unsung Hero Awards.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Used to get to those, and there was always people there. I interviewed Steph Horton. And I remember speaking to her before I started the interview, and I said, "How do you pronounce your surname?" And she went, "You're the only person who's ever asked me that." And she said, "It's Horton, as in Hortonley Spring." I went, "That'll do." It was the other guy who got the award was Jimmy Montgomery, the ex-Sunderland player.
Yeah.
2 award winners on camera, and again, it snowballed from then on.
That was a great program. I absolutely loved it. He's just asked now as well, does Les own the Model T pub in Darlington now? He used to work, but as a chef back in the day.
No, I don't. I don't own any bars now. I have in the past. I'm working for a company that's got 4 bars, soon to be 5, but that's not one of them.
Not that one. And not a quick fire on, which we haven't had this for ages, so I'm really looking forward to this one. So 5 questions about your time in the game. Start with number 1, the best manager that you worked under and why.
I think I've already told you. I would say Peter Feenan. But I also want to add that playing for Tommy Dobbin before I even got into the Northern League was probably the time I enjoyed the most.
Excellent. And number 2, the best teammate that you played with and why over the years.
I'm going to give you 3. You know, just get 2. Danny, who was an ex-Darlington, ex-Bennymoor player, joins for a time at Crook. Danny Mellenby, the ex-Darlington player.
Yes.
Played in the same team as Kevin Scott at Crook, the ex-Newcastle centre-half.
Yeah.
And the reason I put him down is just, we could be at Penrith on a Tuesday night on 2 foot of mud, and you would still get absolute 100% commitment out of it. And I used to think to myself, if anybody's not going to give 100%, you would expect it to be him after what he's done in the game. But that's obviously why he was a pro. He's just 100% every week.
Oh, fantastic. And number 3, who was the best opposition player that you played against that couldn't just get the best of them on the day?
Again, I've touched on it. The 2 of them, Milner and Gibb at Bedlington. But the one player who I only played against him once, and he stood out like a punch on the nose, was Kenny Lowe at Gateshead.
Right, yeah. You mentioned him, actually.
It wasn't somebody who ran a great deal, I don't think, if I remember rightly, but his touch and his vision and everything was class.
Excellent. Number 4, your best footballer moment.
Not really an exciting one, but one I've never forgotten. That was when I was 17, getting off the bus with the Reading players and heading through the door that said players only. Not as a 17-year-old, not one of it. Yeah, it was just that was where I wanted to be.
Brilliant memories. And number 5, the funniest football moment when you look back over all the time and you just kind of think, like, that's a memory that always sticks out with you.
Well, I've got a few. I'll try and be as quick as I can. Went to Hamburg with Crook, and we were going out there to play against a team called St. Pauli, who were a Bundesliga side.
Right. Yeah.
Alan Shoulder was the manager at the time, and we've gone into our digs. Digs is the right word as well, by the way. And right, let's get out and head into town. We're walking along the road, and there's a first lamppost. There's a big poster saying St. Pauli v Crooktown. Walked a bit further, big poster, St. Pauli, Crooktown. Walked in this bar, posters everywhere, St. Pauli, Crooktown. Alan Shoulder went, lads, one drink, we're going back to the room. I think they're taking this a little bit more seriously than what we are. And we ended up going back. And the following day, in the game, we got a penalty. And I remember a couple of the lads turned around and looked at me and they went, I'm not taking it. And I went, what for? And it was a lad called James Chapman. He went, what, England v Germany? Penalty, you've got no chance, I'm not taking it. The other one when I was at Sheldon, Ray Gowan manager, and he'd said to me, "You're good mates with Danny Key, aren't you?" And yeah. He says, "Do you think you can persuade him to come and play for us?" And I said, "Well, he'll be on big money where he's at, mind." I said, "So he'll want more than where anybody else is on." He said, "See if you can get him." So I spoke to him, and Danny was like, "Oh yeah, definitely, I'll do that." And then obviously we're going to travel together and all that. So Danny turns up for the first training session, signs. Ray Gowan asked us to go to his office or out the back, wherever it was. I don't even think he had an office. And I'm thinking, I was just going to say thanks. And he went, right, Les, thanks for getting Danny Key. I don't need you now, I'm letting you go. Funny, again, I told you this before we came online, was I'd been asked to play in this tournament for a Premier League team, and again, having this football shows were opened a lot of doors to me through a lot of the great experiences I've had. And one of the players we had on our team was David May, and we're playing in this knockout tournament, and teams had to pay to play apart from our side.
Right.
Premier League team. So it was all ex-Premier League players and me. And anyway, we'd won the first few rounds and we were about to go into the semi-final. And David May said, "Lads, I've just been told there's a free bar for us, you know." And one of the lads went, "All right." He says, "But the free bar's only until 6 o'clock. He went, "If we win this next game, you know, we won't have time for the free bar." So I'm not thinking anything of it. Anyway, we'll get on the pitch. The phone ring. I could hear a phone ringing. David May pulls his phone out of his sock in the middle of the game. We're getting absolutely thumped, by the way, at this point, because everybody had just down tools. And he's just stood on the phone, chatting away. The final whistle goes. I've never seen a bunch of lads happy. But there was a free bar on for us, and it was interesting. Straight back to the bar.
Oh, class, man. Some fantastic stories there. But Les, honestly, brilliant. I think it's a pleasure to have you on as well. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having us on. Enjoyed it.
Excellent. Brilliant. No, again, thank you everyone that's been watching. Back again next week. More looking back with John Gamble on the Wednesday night. And obviously on the Thursday, we've got the FA VAR special, the Wigan manager and chairman coming on to talk about their journey so far and hopefully further in the tournament as well. But again, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night as well.